Meeting November 10th, the Bardstown City Council. Of course, we're again meeting via Zoom in accordance with the Attorney General's opinion as we deal with state of emergency for COVID-19. The first order of business is a proclamation for the National Home Health Care Month, and they had requested this this week in hospice, National Home Care and Hospice Month, I should say. And we've got a proclamation that I'd like to ask our city attorney to read, and then we'd ask for a vote to name National Home Care and Hospice Month for the month of November.
Whereas home care services provide high quality and compassionate health care services to more than 5 million Americans annually, especially in times of a community or personal health care crisis. And whereas 90% of Americans want to age in place and home care is the preferred method of health care delivery among the disabled, elderly, and chronically ill, individuals want to live independently in their own homes as long as they possibly can. And whereas home care services allow families to stay together and they provide for greater health, dignity, and comfort in our communities. And whereas home care in the United States is a growing alternative to hospitalization or other institution-based forms of health care for acute and chronic illnesses, providing care to millions of Americans each year. And whereas 2 million everyday heroes, including home care nurses, therapists, and aides, travel almost 1 billion miles each year to deliver care and work tirelessly to provide professional support to millions of Americans in need of quality health services. And whereas these dedicated home care professionals and volunteers form a support network that continues to play a vital role in healthcare delivery for our nation's disabled, infirm, and aging population. And whereas Intrepid USA Healthcare at Home, Bardstown, Kentucky, and the National Association of Home Care and Hospice, and thousands of home care agencies across the United States have declared the month of November as National Home Care and Hospice Month, and are calling on all Americans to observe these occasions with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Now, therefore, I, J. Richard Heaton, Mayor of the City of Bardstown, do hereby proclaim November 2020 is National Home Care and Hospice Month in Bardstown, Kentucky, and encourage the support and participation of all citizens in learning more about the home care and hospice concepts of care for the elderly, disabled, and infirm.
Thank you, Audrey. If I could, then I would like to ask if one of our council members would make a motion that we adopt the proclamation as presented.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Dones, do we have a second?
Second, Mayor.
All right, second with Councilman Hibbs. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Well, it's very timely that they do a lot of good work year round every year, but this time of year, it's probably better that a lot of these people can get home health care and not have to travel out and about to get it. So very timely proclamation. Thank you. Next, I'll call on Jessica Filiatro to give us, to go over these change orders that we have. The first being the Bardstown Water and Sewer Project with 7 Cs Construction.
Yes, there are 2 change orders currently for 7 Cs Construction for this project on the agenda tonight. The first change order is this is a unit price contract. So anytime the quantities are changing or there's an item that needed to be used that didn't have a quantity already established, we're trying to establish a quantity. So change order number 3 is the cost to actually perform a wet tap in the amount of $5,453.59. What this is actually also doing, even though it's adding this amount, it is taking away the cost of 1 tie-in, 2 valves. So there's only going to be a net addition of about $653.59. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that we were doing a wet tap, which there wasn't previously a unit price for. But by doing that, it's eliminating some other quantities that won't be charged. So that explains the first change order, number 3. The second one is for just a price addition of $487.50 to use a 24-hour mix in doing the pavement restoration back in the alley, back off of, I believe it's the residents that face Broadway between 4th and 5th. So there's a section of the alleyway that when it got poured, it was preventing access for some of those residents who have access off of the alley only, some of those condos, I believe. And so we were trying to get access back as quick as possible by adding this 24-hour mix rather than the contract, which had 7-day mix. So we split the difference. The contractor covered the other half of this, and we paid for this half in order to get that traffic back open and those residents being able to use their access, their alley quicker and not have them cut off.
Jessica, did you say the first change order, even though it's $5,400, is a net? The net increase is only going to be $600 and some change.
Correct. Because again, they're billing for each unit used. So there wasn't previously a unit price for a wet tap specifically. So they just won't be charging for the other items that this wet tap is replacing. So I believe that was one tie-in and two valves. So that was a net change of only an addition of about $653 when I went back and did the math on that.
All right.
Jessica, do they have that in writing somewhere?
I have it in an email that was going to be the change out, and I'm watching the quantities and we're signing off on all the units and measuring in the field. So when they do their pay app, they're filling in the quantities based on the units actually installed. And we're going out and verifying those quantities and verifying the number. So it's a little bit different in this particular type bid process, but for most items, we have a unit price for those things in case they run into an issue and there's actually a couple extra taps we didn't know we had and connected. They're going to bill for the taps installed on the sewer section. Or if they had a wider trench, there's getting paid based on a square yard of pavement restoration. So we're measuring the actual yardage torn out and put back for payment. So we had estimated quantities for the project, but that way there's not a lot of extra. We know what that unit price is for each item. And then if there's less, which that's been the case on a few of these, there was actually, which didn't come before you guys, there's quantities not being billed. There were like 15 service taps that were shown on the plans on the sewer side that they didn't actually need to install because they were shown in the camera footage of the sewer video, but yet they didn't actually go to anything. So there were extra taps that were capped that did not need to be reconnected when the new line got in. So that was about $15,000 reduction in what they will not be billing because they didn't perform that unit. So it's kind of like not really a la carte, but estimated quantities based on the plan, but you've got an established price for each type of piece and construction going on. So it'd be nice if there was like a contingency where as long as the quantities are within 10%, overall the project, we wouldn't have to come to you each time for a unit price contract. But the way it's set up, I didn't really know to do that because we're not used to doing it that way. But at least you don't have to worry about as much markup on each individual item because you've got an established price. So if you come up with, you have additional footage in the field that maybe you had that was maybe not in as good shape, we now have an established price for that footage and that pavement restoration or a tap or curb and gutter replacement. So all of those units we have an established unit bid price for. Also keeping in mind, we are still well below they've not come up with the full bid price contract amount yet. So we're still working within our overall budget price for this project. And we are still, even with the change orders we've had on the downtown project, we're still well under what the next bidder would have been on their base pricing. So I think we're still coming out ahead, just a little pluses and minuses as we go through this process.
Does anyone else have any other questions of Jessica on these two change orders? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve change order number 3 and number 4. This 7 Cs construction on our downtown water and sewer project.
So moved, Mayor.
A motion by Councilwoman Hart. Do we have a second?
Second, Mayor.
And a second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? And of course, the minutes, I think, will reflect, or the record will reflect, that even though the first change order was $5,400 some odd, the net effect is $653, and the second one $487.50. So not very large change orders on $1 million project here. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion's carried. Next, we have Jessica. Also, we have some change orders on our new Public Works building out off of Paget Drive. You want to talk to the change order 1 and 2, Jessica, please?
Absolutely. The first change order, although it looks like I'm doing a great job in saving the city $260,000, that it's not as great as it looks. Really, what this change order does is removes $260,650.18 from BCD Construction's base bid, and it pulls that out, and those are for values that the city of Bardstown will purchase directly in order to save the sales tax. So in order to make that proper contractually, we're pulling that amount out of their awarded contract. And we have a list of vendors and establish what that $260,000 is. And then change order number 2 is an actual net credit based on value engineering that we were looking at. And that was part of that value engineering process, where by pulling out those vendors and that dollar amount, we're saving about $10,426 in sales tax from our tax exempt status as a city. So that's what that real net benefit of pulling that amount out of their contract benefits the city, is the tax deduction on those values. And that was what you see as the third item on change order number 2 as a credit. The first value engineering item that we found to be a deduction was we switched the specified epoxy flooring and changed the flooring coating to be something slightly different, but it's overall net change and benefit of savings of $34,735 by removing that epoxy coating to the flooring. The second item that we did was we changed a finish on a portion of the metal building from this Kynar finish to a steel polyester, and it's still a good product and meets the commercial needs that we have. It saves us about $4,050 and I think that has some set of standard colors that again gives us a little bit of savings on the building as a whole. So through the value engineering process, we were able to save $49,211.01, and that's what the ultimate change order that you see before you is for the building.
Jessica, if you maintain that epoxy flooring, what does that do for the life of the concrete or the building if you kept that in there?
We talked about this a couple of different ways. There's still additional maintenance things that we are going to need to do with that epoxy flooring and the process. We don't currently have in any of our mechanic shops in our storage facilities currently at the Public Works an epoxy flooring. We're going to put a different sealant on it, and then just maintain the floor and the concrete flooring for a shop. We really weren't seeing that big of a benefit, and we're actually seeing some long-term more maintenance that we were needing to do to make sure that epoxy stayed in place and didn't get scratched and dent. And no more than what we're doing in that facility, and based on looking at the condition of our existing floor, concrete floor that we have, we felt that we could eliminate that and save us quite a bit of money and still end up with a good product for the longevity of the building.
So it's mostly just to help keep it clean and neat and that.
Right.
It
was really just to help keep it clean, I guess, and against any dripped oils or something, to keep it from hitting the concrete. But again, we use drip pans and other trays and cleaners and stuff. So again, I was honestly a little bit worried about just equipment coming in with salts and stuff that might actually cause more harm than good on the epoxy floor. So we decided to just eliminate it.
All right, thank you.
So Jessica, you're saying then that this epoxy was on the original specs was for the entire floor, even all the shop floor, as well as the office spaces and the break room and so forth.
Right. There was a different kinds of coatings on them, but that was including the actual mechanic area and I guess the tool area where Jason Tucker was going to be. It was more of the workman areas than and we just didn't feel like in the storage areas we were really going to need that.
Right. Okay. Any other questions of Jessica on these two change orders? One to save the sales tax, and the other two were part of the value engineering work that they did.
No.
If we don't have any, then I'd ask for a motion then to approve change orders number 1 and 2 for the BCD construction company on the Bardstown Public Works building.
I can make that motion, Mayor.
And Councilman Buckman has a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Is that David? Yeah, okay. Second by Councilman Dones. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have just the minutes from our October 27th meeting, which that was a long one, so we had a lot to go over.
Yeah, we did.
If there's any changes or additions? If not, we can approve these by unanimous consent. Betty, you didn't see any changes, did you?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. I will approve them by unanimous consent. I don't think we have anything from Aaron tonight. He had a lot of his work was last meeting. Next, we have our reports from our staff committees. The Electric and Cable Committee met on the 13th of October. You've got the minutes there, and I know Chairman Dones may have some comments, and I know Eric Richter, our city electrical engineer. Eric wanted to make a couple of comments, I think.
Okay, Mayor. I mean, if you want, I've got just a brief summary written up about the meeting, and then we can let Eric make his comments. Is that how you prefer?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, the minutes pretty much reflect everything. I'll summarize here for us. The 12 kilovolt conversion project is ongoing. Completion in early November on the south end part of the project. We're looking at total completion about early summer of 2021. So I think that project is moving along very well. There's a couple of, and like I say, minor projects that are going on. Northgate Apartments. There's a meter switching project that's going on. They're considering some stuff on West Bashir, some new multiple homes constructed on both sides of the street. And so as far as minor projects, cable internet, everybody's celebrating and had posted some videos of the new bucket truck, which is very nice. There's new Tech 1 and Tech 2 positions in training. Bardstown Connect's website is up and running with the new logo and the branding. Projects underway, cable internet, currently underground node 3, which is the Bear Creek Way. There's obviously a lot of difficulty right now in completing some of these projects due to material shortages and obtaining materials in the supply chain, which is understandable with current situation out there. There's also some new builds on Dugan Lane and Wilkerson Road underway. New pricing for the prefab building for the cable internet shop. And there's a layout that Nahome has available of the new head end area in the vacated part of the fire department. So, and aside from that, our next meeting is for January 30, and I'll let Eric take it over.
Sure,
Eric
thank
on?
you. Yes, sir. Just one thing I wanted to mention and kind of give a notice, kind of preliminary notice. The first area that we've been focusing severely on is the south end of town. We call it the south end, kind of the Edgewood subdivision and surrounding areas. We are going to be scheduling to do that work here the first 2 weeks of December. So what that will involve is kind of a section per day of around 175 to 200 homes. And that's going to involve probably a 4 to 6 hour outage per day for those homes. So that just allows us to turn off the power to that section, get the section converted with both new fuses, new transformers converted over to the new voltage, and get that section back up. So I want to kind of, since it was on the agenda with those minutes, I mentioned that tonight we'll be doing a lot of notice to media, Facebook messages, send out some letters and some door tags, kind of closer to it. But since it was on the agenda tonight, I was wanting to go ahead and then mention that kind of a 3-week notice that work is coming up the first 2 weeks of December.
And Eric, is that something that if we have an unusual bout of inclement weather, that's super cold, I mean, we would reschedule that possibly? Yes, sir. That it assumes, pretty mild weather, nothing too hot like it's rarely been here recently, and nothing too cold. So assuming that it would be mild weather throughout the day, it'll be, during the day, during the normal business hours. I know that, there's a lot of people working from home and some businesses, operating during the day. So we're going to try and keep those outage times to a minimum while that's going on. But just that way we can focus on each section per day. But yes, do it only if there's good mild weather.
Okay.
So that's all I had.
All right, thank you, Eric. It sounds like between the different media formats you're going to use and the letters and the door hangers, hopefully everybody who needs to be notified on their day and the time of their outages will get notified enough in advance so they can make proper arrangements to either maybe be gone during that time and go somewhere else that they need to use the internet and so forth, or go out and do some of the shopping chores they may have during that time.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
can I just share with Eric, and just in case he doesn't know this, Edgewood has their own Facebook page. It's called Eyes on Edgewood. That would be a great place to probably put that information.
Okay, sure will.
Thank you, Councilman Hart. That's good to know. And we do know they use that at least a lot of the residents down there do use that frequently, so that's a good format to use. Thanks for making that suggestion. All right, any other questions of Eric or David on the electric cable committee meeting? All right, thank you all for that report out. Under new business, only thing I've got to kind of report out, there was a good story in the paper Sunday about the change in the light up Bardstown. So, we're not going to be able to have the normal large gathering in the center of town with Santa being delivered there, but a lot of the businesses and residents on North 3rd Street are going to really decorate their homes and businesses with a lot of lights that'll be very attractive for people to drive through and look at in the evenings. And then I think that's scheduled for the Friday after Thanksgiving. And so we're glad that we're still able to do something like that and not have to put people at risk, but still people are taking part in that. So it's well done. And then this is kind of a, marketing change for tourism, but they're taking advantage of it and working hard to market it. So hopefully encourage people to take day trips maybe, or take a weekend here in Bardstown, take advantage of the beauty that's going to be here during the Christmas time, and take advantage of all the great shopping opportunities that we still have here. So good to hear that. Does anyone else have anything to bring up under new business? Or any of the council members have anything to bring before the council this evening? That's the next agenda item.
I'd simply like to mention my thanks to the citizens of Bardstown for having the confidence in current council to reelect all of us.
Well, you kind of took something away from me on my mayor's comments. But we'll go ahead and
sorry.
That's okay.
Mayor.
We'll start with that. Councilman Hart.
Yes, I was just agreeing with Councilman Dones. I appreciate it as well.
Okay.
Very much appreciated. We're very fortunate to have a council that works well together. We have a mayor that gives good leadership, and I'm very appreciative for the ability to serve another 2 years.
Thank you,
agree,
Councilman
Councilman
Williams. Who's
I
next?
put my thoughts on the in Kentucky Standard Sunday, so
Nice job on that, Bill.
which very pretty much echoed the sentiments of the rest of the council.
Thank you,
I
Councilman
could-
Seckles.
I can just ditto what everybody else has said. I'm really happy the way things turned out. It's going to be
Thank you,
good for all
Joe.
of us. You bet.
I'll be last on there too, but I much appreciate everyone's faith in us, and I look forward to the next 2 years getting to learn from each and every one of you. So thank you guys for everything.
Thank you all for stepping up and running again. And, we appreciate everyone who were candidates. They've taken an interest in our community, but we're thankful for the election that was a lot more calmer and less controversial than some of the national and state level ones that went on around us. And so congratulations to all you all on your reelection, and my thanks to the other candidates who worked in the election, and appreciate their interest in our community. All right, next thing we have is cemetery deeds. We have just one deed for Ashley Graves, purchase of one grave site. So we can do that by unanimous consent. And then as far as my update, I would also like to thank our local media for, they seem to be given even more attention each week now, both print as well as radio and TV, to our COVID situation. And I hate to be like beating a dead horse, but this is not a dead horse. This thing is alive and spreading, and if you read the stories in the paper, and we try to give an update here at the City Hall each week when possible. And as we know, we've had 3 consecutive weeks of record weeks numbers. Last week, I know one day we hit the top 6 in the state for the largest number of cases in one day. Of course, we're part of, I think there's over 40, maybe closer to 50 counties now that are in the red. Nelson is one of those. Bardstown itself has a lot of outbreaks going on. And, there's only one way we can do a better job of getting this under control. And that's what each of us are doing individually. And there's some that are doing great jobs, and there's some that are not doing such a good job with masking and social distancing and so forth. But really, every one of us is going to have to do a better job, no matter how well you're doing it, in order to keep this under control. Because when you start seeing numbers like some of these manufacturing plants that have 80 people off work, I know of 3 manufacturing facilities here in Nelson County that have had as much as 80 or more people off work. And that's just in manufacturing, but it's the same thing in the small business sector, because it's a very serious health challenge to us, but it also has a very serious economic impact on us. And that is, when these factories have this many people off, they have to reduce their amount of their production. And that greatly impacts them as a business. Many of these people, it spills over into our small businesses. And from a financial standpoint, for those employees that are getting impacted by this, it's even worse, not just from a health standpoint, but financially, because in the small business sector, many of these people, they don't have paid vacation or sick days that they can fall back on to recover the money they lose by being home with COVID. And then there's people that, because of close contact and tracing, they have to stay home. And so again, they struggle because they're not bringing in income to pay their bills. And then these businesses are struggling to have enough people available to operate on. So it's just a very big vicious circle. And now, because it's so widespread, we have our first responders, our healthcare workers, and even our doctors. People are either having to stay home in quarantine, either because of close contact issues, or many of them now are contacting COVID. And so then you put your frontline people at risk, but also it's reducing the amount of people who are there to react to the COVID outbreak. And that's really what they can do. They can't stop it. These healthcare workers, these doctors, and these facilities, they can't stop it. They have to be there to react and care for everyone who needs the care. So again, this has a much bigger impact. I know some people look at the numbers and they think, well, there's only 3 people in the hospital. Well, there's only 300 people in the whole county home quarantined. That's tracing the number of people that are sick quarantined. That's not counting all the other people sometimes that are, because of contact tracing, having to stay home and miss work and so forth. So please, I just keep asking everyone every week, we all have to step up, because this is all on us. If we don't make any changes, this is going to continue to go out of control. It's only with our personal behavior that we can make an impact to keep this under control. So I just really can't emphasize that enough. Thank everyone and all the frontline workers who are trying to help deal with this, and first responders, and thank all our media partners for helping keeping us abreast of what's going on right here in Bardstown and Nelson County.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
This would probably be a good time to maybe recognize Physicians to Children. I think there was a story on the news last night about the different facilities that are doing the testing, placebos and otherwise. and Physicians to Children was included on that. So they've done a lot of good work down there trying to help expedite the vaccine.
Yes, they were named several months ago early on to take part in that. So it's quite an achievement on their part, and recognizing the excellent work that they do. So we're fortunate to have someone right here in our own backyard involved with that. So thank you, Betty.
Yeah, you might add to that, Mayor, that they're working directly with Pfizer too on the vaccine. I mean, they're associated with Pfizer, so it's a good thing what they've done down there. It's only like 43,000 people across the country been involved in this, and they've got several hundred, I think, involved in theirs. So it's been really good.
We have a lot of local people have stepped up and volunteered to take part in this, and it's great. People who are perfectly healthy, and they're thinking of how they can positively impact their neighbors and their friends and other residents right here at home. So it's wonderful that that's happening here. So thank you all for that feedback. On a more positive note on COVID, I would like to say that our Lincoln Trail Area Development District has announced that they have obtained $550,000 from some of the state CARES Act money for grant funds to help support small businesses with revolving loans. And there was $11 million available statewide. So our local Lincoln Trail area was granted $550,000. And so these funds, of course, the small businesses will have to apply for them, but they're available to meet their short-term cash needs. This is for businesses and individuals that own their own businesses. Lincoln Trail, all 8 counties, which Nelson is part of that. It's a short-term working capital loan, and they can use it to do their payroll. They can use it for rent, utilities, interest payments, supplies, inventory management, and payment to their suppliers. And the loans range from $5,000 to $25,000. So we've got this press release that came from Lincoln Trail up on our website. And I know the other media outlets will receive this same press release. So hopefully they'll get it out so that people here in our community, Bardstown and Nelson County, these small businesses can apply for these revolving loans. So I would get moving on it if anybody's out there listening tonight. So it's just good news that there's some extra money out there to help us in this time of need. So that is available on our website, and I'm sure the media will have that out also later this week. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the council this evening? Well, if not, then I would ask for a motion for adjournment then.
So move.
The motion by Councilman Buckman. Do we have a second?
I'll second
I'll
that, Mayor.
second, Mayor.
All right, we have a second by Councilman Hibbs.